Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And he put out a message last night. I'm sure you've probably read it, Dr. Chow, but he said in his message to the fans he'd make the same decision over and over again. That this was, they knew the risk. And I guess I'm just curious. We saw the limp after game 2. We saw the diagnosis of the calf strain after game 5. Obviously, Tyrese and the team were talking about hyperbaric and icing and all this different stuff. They knew the risk. What was the risk? I mean, in your opinion, understanding you're watching this from afar, but what was the risk going into that game 7?
Yeah, so what we do at Sports Injury Central, we analyze off of publicly available information. And what we
Yeah.
do for Believe is we're the only source of true, what I would call injury analysis versus injury reporting. I respect all of the other reporters out there, but Shams goes by a source and he reports. And other outlets say, well, the head coach said, and the player said. We're doing things not off of we incorporate what they say, but we try and look at the reality. And so we put up video and written article analysis after game 2, as you point out. And we said he had Achilles tendonitis based on how he was limping coming off the podium, how he was less explosive, and the tape job he had at practice. That was right leg Achilles tendonitis. And that indeed is technically a partial microscopic tear.
Okay.
That's what Achilles tendonitis is. Then there was the calf strain, and then obviously the Achilles tendon rupture. It is definitely related. That was always the first question. The first question was, what was it? And I think, that wasn't that hard, right? We kind of all knew it. I mean, I said it definitively, but we kind of all knew it. And of course, it's surgery. The next question is it related? Yes. And then it sort of set off, I had a discussion on one of your local guys, McAfee show yesterday. And there was some questions, should he have played and did he do wrong? I was saying, no, he's a dog for playing. He knew the risk. There's no way the team doctors and the medical staff didn't know what was going on. I am not second guessing them. I'm trying to explain the process of what goes on. If this were a regular season game, there's no way he would have played. This was game 7. This was the Super Bowl. Okay, you can even say game 3, 4, 5, and 6, right? They're all part of this Super Bowl, right? And if it were the regular season, he would have sat out and waited. It's not the regular season. He knew the risk. The risk, okay, you've got 30 teams and 12, 15 players on a team. The average Achilles tendon ruptures is about a handful or so. Half a dozen or so is the average. This year is a little bit higher. But if you do the math on that, it's 0.0 something percent, 0.01%. What was Tyrese Haliburton's chance of injury? On the one hand, you can say it was very low. It was 1% per game. But that's 100-fold, 50-fold higher than normal, right?
Yeah.
So is a glass half full or is it half empty? Now, it's 1% for game 3, for game 4. So it probably got up to 5%. That's rough numbers. It's not exact number, but it's single digit. And Brad, if we ask you or any of your listeners for a 5% chance of Achilles tendon rupture, would you play in the NBA Finals? I think everyone would say yes. And Tyrese Haliburton basically alluded to that, what we call informed consent, that he'd do it again. The downside, of course, is he's going to miss next season.
Yep. There's no doubt.
That's the downside of this. And he's saying he would take the risk. Now, the only good news, and Brad, I like delivering good news. I hate being the Grim Reaper, always coming on and talking about injuries. We all remember Kevin Durant in 2019 with the Golden State Warriors. Very similar set of circumstances. Tore his Achilles tendon after a calf strain, Achilles tendonitis. The number one question that I got after that in 2019 was, will he ever be the same again? And should another team give him a max contract? I think I was on the minority saying, yes, he would, because everyone was looking at Kobe. But I was saying Kobe was at the end of his career. Kevin Durant is so long, it's still early in his career. This is why I'm glad we're not hearing a lot of chatter about will Tyrese Haliburton be the same. I think everyone expects him to be the same. I expect him to be the same. But it's going to take him until the 26-7 season to be the same. It's not happening next year. But that's, I guess, the only piece of good news. I know he's missing next season, essentially all of it.
Yeah.
Could he come back in the playoffs a little bit? Maybe not completely explosive. But if the Pacers make it to the NBA Finals, are they just going to insert Tyrese and
Right.
mess up the rotation for
Yeah.
someone who's not 100%? I don't know. So the bottom line is, I think you have to count on this next year being a loss, but at least know that he will be fine in the long run. And I think, if anything, Pacers fans should give him a thumbs up, high five for playing through and putting it all on the line.
So let me ask you this, because I think Pacers fans are absolutely, behind him and just so appreciative that he was willing to put it all on the line to try and bring a title to this town that's never won an NBA championship. But I guess from your perspective, you talk about the uptick. It was 8 Achilles tears this year, 3 of them being very high profile in the postseason with Dame Lillard, Jason Tatum, and obviously Tyrese Haliburton. Are we entering an era where the NBA needs to take the decision out of the players' hands, in your opinion?
Well, Brad, let me just say one thing. I live in San Diego. I'm not in San Diego right now. San Diego doesn't even have the Chargers anymore and truly has never had a championship. You in Indiana have, and the Colts have won one. So.
It's true. That's true. We got that banner. That's right.
So, come on, don't say you have it. The basketball team has it, but your
right.
town has. Anyways, yes, and there actually have been 10 Achilles tendon ruptures this year, if you count 2 from the preseason, right? And you're absolutely right. The norm is about 5 or 6, a half a dozen or so. So at 10, is that higher than normal? Yeah, it is, but it's not 2 standard deviations, right? And what draws a lot of attention to this is 3 very high-profile players, especially one in Game 7, in the playoffs, right? Yeah. They were all in the playoffs. And I guess the lesson we should learn from this, as I would say this very facetiously, is don't wear number 0 in the playoffs.
Right?
All
what
3
are the odds of that?
Right? I mean, I'm just joking about that. But that's crazy, right? The odds of all the number 0s having this happen. But there does, look, I think that there's more education. I mean, 10 years ago, people didn't know what a high ankle sprain was versus a low, or a Lisfranc sprain, or what really was a turf toe. These are now normal vernacular conversations. Now we're talking about tendonitis versus tear/rupture, right? So there's more knowledge. Media has driven this, so there's more attention to it. Is this a spike? I think you say it's a spike, but is it 2 standard deviations that the league is in for disaster? No, I don't think so. A couple of weeks ago, as part of what I call my GOAT series, we had Belichick on, we had Mike Silver on, we had Dr. Robert Anderson, the greatest of all time, foot and ankle surgeon for the NBA and NFL. He does not believe there is a spike in Achilles tendon ruptures. Yes, that was before a couple of these playoff ruptures, okay?
Right.
But he does not believe that there is a spike in terms of what's going on. And let me just say this, because I've heard this chatter too. This is not the Knicks series. It's not the shoes. Okay?
Yeah.
It's not the shoes.
That's right. That's right. Well, listen, it's Dr. David Chao at Pro Football Doc, sicscore.com. David, I really appreciate you joining this morning to shed a little insight, and we'll look forward to 2027, a full recovery. We love to hear that about Tyrese Haliburton, and again, appreciate you joining us this morning.
Thank you.